Okay. So,
I mean, first impressions are it's absolutely furious. Oh my goodness. Well, I've been in lots of Porsches and lots of nice cars, but immediately this feels visceral, raw,
yes,
angry.
That's always been the idea of RS, is to take it that little bit further than the GT3. So it does, you know, with the carbon fiber parts, but it's mainly the engine, and I think in the titanium exhaust tends to make it just that much better. You know, a little bit it's not really the lightness or the more power, it's just the actual ride and the feel, as you say.
But it's not uncomfortable. I don't feel like it's juddering.
No, not like the old. I've had RSs for 20, 25 years, and the old ones were very juddery, uncomfortable, no turning circle, massively hard. But
I mean, you drive to work in this, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't find it cumbersome in London?
No, I've done 5,000 miles because...
In 1 year?
Yeah.
So it's not a garage queen particularly?
No, not at all. And the good thing about it is, yes, you have got sort of the automatic box in a way with PDK. So you can just leave it in auto.
And cruise around it when you need to. And we're going up to the next roundabout and we're aiming left.
So you can actually shift sequentially here or on the paddles. So hit the rev limiter in a big way.
I thought my Alpine was quick, and now I've realised actually, who am I
It
kidding?
is down here.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're staying on this road for 2 miles.
Yeah.
It'll become a dual carriageway. It's been newly surfaced, but it's not too loose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sunny day, nice car, nice friends.
Yes.
What do you need?
And this is what it's about. Sorry, I'm just sticking to the speed limit.
Sure.
That's why we don't want to break. We don't want to break the
We
speed
never
limit.
exceed the speed limit, Peter.
No, we don't want to do that. That's why we just rev it in the low gears, and once you get to the high gears, we slow down.
So this is flat 6, 4 litre, naturally aspirated.
Naturally aspirated, 4 valves a cylinder, 520 horsepower. You know, 480.
Someone giving you a thumbs up there on an A45.
Yes. Yeah, it's been a development over many years, as you know, Porsche, and then they switched to the water-cooled, which I had the initial GT3, and I raced the RS version for that. Fortunately, I was lucky enough to race at Daytona and Le Mans.
So talking about racing, where did that start from?
Well, it
Going
started,
back.
oddly enough, when I was a kid, I always liked rallying. But guess what? I never ended up rallying. And when I first came to England, I remember going to a Formula 3 race and thinking, wow, that's amazing, that is cool. And somehow I just fell into it. The problem really is it's a sort of a journey of pain and pleasure. Racing's always about failure as well as winning. And
That's life lessons, isn't
yes, and failure happens more often than winning. And I agree, that's also about businesses, about everything we do in our life is how to cope with things going wrong or failure. Yeah.
it? And how did you get involved with the racing team that supports you?
Well, this is basically met a friend called Paul who's got a company, GT Classics, and we basically decided that we both had 964 RSs, and I was racing cars, but he always liked driving them on the road. Yep, up to the speed limit. Let's slow down again. You know, that's basically how we got into it. I got into racing with him. Then I drifted away from single seaters. I got a little bit too old and too fat. And so I got into Porsche racing because I'd always loved and had Porsches, so we decided to race them. And oddly enough, the first race car we bought was a 993 GT3, I mean a GT2R, which was a really powerful car.
Which one? Sorry, a GT?
993 GT2R.
993.
And that was fantastic. And It was a really dangerous car to drive. It was lethal with big turbo lag and, with no, it was manual H pattern box with no assistance or anything. So it was quite a dangerous car to drive. But we won a lot on it. I won outright at Spa, Silverstone. So it brought a lot of success. Also a little bit of disappointment. We were leading one of the most important races in the UK, and sadly, a little belt came off on the second to last lap or something, so we lost the race. But as I said, that's what motorsport is about. It's about winning and sadly losing, and when you do win, it makes it all that more special.
And you grew up in South Africa?
Yeah, that's correct.
What made you come to England, and how old were you then?
After I'd finished university, effectively in South Africa, it meant going to the army, and I was sort of faced with that dilemma. So I decided to come, and I lived initially in the Greek islands. I spent 6 months, and then I lived a year in Italy working in the fashion business. So,
and you did some modelling as well as racing?
Yes, a little bit of that.
Are you dentistry's James Bond, I think?
No, now I'm an older version of that, but no, it was a lot of fun, and I just was coming through. I'd done my American board exams, and I was going to basically go to the United States and work Boston, do dentistry there, hopefully. But I stopped in England, and I had a lot of fun, and everyone seemed so much fun, and sort of open and friendly. So I decided,
what year was this?
That was in 1985. So
I remember you were telling me that you only came with like £40 in your pocket.
Yes, I left Italy and I had £40, which I probably spent that night, and I borrowed 20, but I had to go back to Italy, and I did a commercial, and so I managed to go and earn a bit more money in Italy, so that I didn't only have 40. I came back with like 120. But still, working was imperative, so I worked in the NHS for a few years.
Was that in London?
Yeah.
Always been based in London?
Yeah, always been based in London. I always kind of figured, yes, there were probably nicer places to live and work, but London seemed like a central venue for me, and London was a huge eye-opening experience.
Oh, wow,
the poppies look amazing in the fields here today.
Such a lucky to have such a nice day today. So you did a little bit on the NHS. When did you start getting into implants? Were you an early adopter?
Yeah, I started in the late 80s going to events because I was a friend of Barry Edwards. And he was the sort of founding president of the ADI. And then I started placing in 1991, I think.
Wow.
And in those days...
Nobel at the time, was it?
No, this was the whole thing, is that Barry had developed Intos implants because Brannemark or Nobel at the time were originally the only implants, and in about 85 they decided that only maxillofacials could place implants, which was strange because when I started doing implants, a lot of my referrals were from maxillos who weren't really that interested in implants themselves. It was more of a general dentist field, and that was about 1985 that Barry actually developed an implant because of this sort of ban on regular dentists. So he developed Intos, and that's what I started using initially with him. Implantology was a lot more difficult in those days, I can assure you. It was a lot of fun.
And talking about implants, and we have to thank our kind sponsors NSK today.
Yeah.
And I know you have a long history.
Well, like my love of Porsche, the reasons why I've always loved NSK, sadly for them, nothing ever goes wrong. It has that German, I know it's not a German company,
good for repeat business.
but it has a reliability. And I used to place over 500 implants a year for many years. And the one thing that never let me down was my NSK physio. It's, hand pieces occasionally can need to be because you're using them quite a lot.
Well, they also need to be serviced by NSK and looked after like a car.
Yes,
buy a quality product and look after it.
I agree.
Yeah.
And that's the best analogy I can have for NSK and to my love of Porsche is reliability, robustness. You can use them hard, you can use them every day. Porsche, you can use this on track, you can use it driving quietly around a country lane.
It's quite a good analogy. I think I've had my implant motor probably 14 years.
Yeah,
all my hand pieces, autoclaves, and you get such a good relationship with Alex and the team at NSK.
Yeah, it's just...
And it's a journey, you know, you have to...
It's just it's one of those things where you want to arrive at work and for it to work.
Exactly, well...
The last thing is you set up for a whole afternoon doing implants and something happens. And that's why I've always relied on them, really. And that's the same with Porsche. You know, generally you can turn up at the track or on the road and you know that it's going to be reliable and work well.
And same, I've seen a lot on the classic rallies. They tend to be all the classic Porsches.
Yeah.
So this isn't a recent phenomenon. They've been doing this since the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is that's why you need the history. Anyone can make something new and faster, and but the reliability comes from long history and a long-term experience from troubleshooting and just having an evolution of what you're doing, and that's what the 911's all about.
That's the perfect word.
It's
for
nothing
911,
but
isn't it?
it's an evolution, and that's why it's quite exciting.
And that's an old. That's interesting. Little Alpha. Nice to enjoy the national speedway limit on these roads.
Yeah, it's quite nice that you can drive on a road like this and be driving, a little bit quicker. But you know, I'm a big one for safety on public roads.
Absolutely, especially through villages.
Yes,
20 is good, I think.
Yep, it's and where I live in central London, and you know, as you know, I have
Probably not going to hit 20 in central London.
Yeah, there you go. Tesla X, I have one of those as well. My wife
another
has
great
one.
car.
And that's the next revolution. It's sad to say when you're listening to all.
I have to say, I'm in bucket seats.
Yeah,
it's so comfortable.
It's incredible just getting in and out of them. That's why my wife doesn't spend many journeys with me. She finds getting in and out of these seats challenging.
Do you have different suspension settings? Is this in normal soft?
Yeah,
mode?
this is just a normal soft, and then you can actually change the gearbox and the suspension options. Yep, here we go. Just going to slow down again into a zone, and you can turn the traction control off, which I do when we're trying to drift a little bit on track. But you can hear the rubber's a little stickier. I mean, it's ridiculous the amount of stones we're picking up from this bit of road. Yeah, and so, you know, the interesting thing is where I developed an implant dentistry over the years, and then I sort of was about the late 90s. Basically, I was using allograft at the time, Rocky Mountain, and then the news story broke. Alistair Cook's body had been stolen, and the New York Mafia had effectively taken over the American bone bag. We'll go even a bit slower, we're going to Village. And so, you know, in England it was a major thing because Alistair Cook was big, you know, letters from America. People loved that, that was so popular. And so every patient came in to see me used to say, "Hi Peter, I hope you're not going to put some Alistair in me." And I thought about it. You know, it's an incredible thing. I suddenly thought about it and I thought, yeah, why are we putting foreign material, other dead people or animals, into our patients, possibly for the rest of their life? It didn't make sense, and that's when I started looking at the synthetic route. I mean, synthetics.
So when did the ethos idea come about?
Well, I worked with a number of different companies, starting with orthopedic when I started in 2003, 2002, starting using synthetics, and we developed a material called Vital. And that worked very well. And I worked on other materials later on, like Easy Graft. But they never developed what you wanted as a dentist. They developed what they had, and you had to develop your techniques.
Talking about engineering, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Look at this Victorian viaduct. I just thought I'd take you this way.
Yeah, I've never been here.
Such a
Where's
beautiful
this on
thing.
the way to Welland Garden City?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, you don't need to be abroad on a day like today. So going back to ethos, yeah. So eventually I thought, well, I'm going to develop something that I want, and that will fit the protocols that I was using all the time. And 6 years ago, just over 6 years ago, I started looking at alternatives and looking at factories and looking at position. And eventually, after trying initially the initial ethos, and the results were spectacular. I'd never seen anything like that. It's completely different to a lot of the other materials, which are fillers. It's a true regenerative material. And so all it does is it helps the body regenerate its own bone, and it upregulates that. So instead of doing a lot of surgery and expecting the poor body to heal irrespective, we do less surgery, less grafting, and getting much better results.
Ethos is now in how many countries?
It's in 55 countries
55
globally, and it seems to be going well. Yes, I contradicted what everyone had been taught, what the ITI protocol. What I didn't contradict was biology and logic, really. There's too many people around here.
Yeah, it starts to get busy now.
Yeah,
I always usually do a run 7 till 9 in the morning on Sundays.
Yeah.
You get a nice run.
Yeah, the one good thing about Porsches, especially on track, is the brakes are good.
It sounds a little bit turbo-y, the noise. You know, when you get to 5,000-6,000 revs, like a screamy noise.
You've got the induction scoops on the sides of the car rather than the back.
So they're sucking their air.
So it is. It's like a turbo where the induction scoops are on the car. So
Plus
that's
with that
about-
acceleration, you kind of
Yeah.
think something's happening.
Yeah, no, it's this is the whole thing. I actually haven't had a point on my license for about, and I want to keep it that way. Yeah, that's the thing, is I'm very much believer in sort of safe driving on the roads. I haven't had an accident on the roads, again, touch wood, for 20 years, 30 years probably.
And looking at the younger dentists now who's sort of
Yeah.
qualifying and looking to aspire to someone like you, been working hard for 20, 30 years
Yeah, this
to
is
get
the-
to where you are.
This is the key. I've got a new young guy working for me at the moment. I think is fantastic. He's a really great guy. And my sort of philosophy is forget making money. I've had guys coming into the practice and they look at pictures of cars and whatever. I think the best thing is to always work to improve yourself and improve what you can do and gain better experience. And oddly enough, when the time is right and when the situation, the money does become easier. And that's the philosophy that I've always had. Nothing is done without hard work.
And I think
that's
the more
just
people
the way
you
it
help
is.
and the more you help them,
Yeah.
that's where wealth comes from.
Yep, and that's another aspect. I learned that from my mentor, Barry, who gave time to me. And there was never any desire to want anything back. It was the old way of doing things. So sharing information is a big thing, and that's why I've always been part of the ADI, and I was a director at the ADI, basically, because I felt that it's always important to give something back to help the next generation. And I think it's a really interesting time for dentistry with digital coming in now. And a lot of things have so much improved, especially in implant dentistry, and we've learned a lot. Yes, there's failure in implant dentistry, and a lot of it is how to cope with it, yeah.
I think it's easier nowadays in society to be disenfranchised. We're all on our devices, head down, and
Yeah.
things like the ADI or tubules or BACD, where people come together.
Yeah,
it's
even-
not just the content, it's actually having a drink at the bar, someone putting an
Yeah.
arm around you and saying,
Because-
how are you?
Yeah, because we could do everything on webinars. I'd just been to Australia to lecture, and I did webinars. I could have done it all on webinars, but people actually want to meet, shake, talk about, discuss cases, and even turbines. We're essentially looking at cars. We all love our cars. We work hard for our cars. But when we all get together, yes, teeth comes up again, or this idea, or something like that.
That fraternity is what Turbine's about.
Yeah.
And it is helping each other. And this is a shared hobby and passion.
Yeah.
But actually, it's more about great experiences, great journeys, enjoying the people around us, enjoying the drives.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I remember years ago, I was like mad about racing cars. Yep. And Barry sort of said to me, and I was a little despondent with dentistry, and he sort of said, look, you're never going to be a Formula One driver. True. You're never even going to be a pro driver. True. But make dentistry your passion, because it's your job. And that's the one bit of advice I have, is if you can actually make dentistry your job, make it your passion, and then things will get a lot better.
If you enjoy what you do, enjoy the people around you, help people,
Yeah.
that's the formula for success.
And it is, and that's the main thing, is to always be humble about things as well. Humility is a great trait that Barry sort of taught. It's always nice to have someone who shows you.
And you never bought this car to drive around Kensington Posing. You drove it from your long history of racing.
Yes, and there's 5,000 miles in a year for one of these, which is a lot. And that's why, oddly enough, I spec'd it without a roll cage, because, you know, I do track it on track, but I just don't feel that I want to have something that looks too much like a race car or feels like a race car, because I do have race cars, and that aspect of life's probably slowly coming to an end. You just sort of get to a point where you're losing a second a lap on your teammate that you never did, and you realize it's nothing more than age, I guess.
Reaction time.
Yes, you slow down. When I was racing 24 hours at Daytona, coming off the banking onto the chicane at the back of the circuit, I just couldn't see the brake points that well because of the way the lights were reflecting and in the dark. And it bizarrely, another McLaren garage.
Oh, that's the old Aston McLaren garage. So now we're heading to the new one.
Oh, right.
So
okay.
that was really a special place for me. That was my second home.
I can imagine.
And again, for me, it's that long-term relationship with people.
Yeah.
With people, really, and the cars are part of it.
Yeah, I think Turbine, it's been a great experience at getting people together and like-minded people. We've had brilliant events. Look at Silverstone.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago.
Amazing.
And we should carry on. We should do another 2 this year because
we keep trying, and we've done a few tours to Wales and to the Yorkshire Dales and things. So we're doing stuff. So more people get involved, the better.
And that's an important aspect, is that you've got to always look at it that a lot of these cars are, it's what people have a passion for. A few years, we'll all be driving electric, I guess, and that passion will be over. I'm going to stop hitting the early. It's coming in a little early. I was trying to rev it to 9 and it comes in at about 8.8 or so.
Really encourages you to rev it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's a free spinning engine.
Yeah, it's amazing how quickly and how hard the cut is on the limiter.
Interesting car history. Anything else before this?
Yeah, I'd always had, right from the early days, I used to, when I was at university in the 70s, I had a Fiat 124 ST, which is a twin cam, which revved very highly as well. And it was great fun. We're going to go left here.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. I'd always loved cars right from there. And then I bought an Alfa with some of my modelling money at university, which I paid for myself to go through university by modelling. And but the Alfa, I was based also in Durban, and the C, I think the rust ate it in about 5 years. And in the old days, Alfas were
not many of them get last, do they? Really?
Not at all. I couldn't have recognised the business park.
Yeah, we're back.
And so then when I got to England, I bought an old Alfa, which again was a rust bucket, and so and then I had a TR6, which was brilliant fun. Black TR6 with Triumph tuned parts, and that was fantastic.
So you like convertibles?
Not really, but I had a lot of fun in that.
Yeah.
That was a time and an age, and then I got a Renault Alpine.
Oh wow!
Yeah, a GT8 Turbo, a red one, and it was great.
Is that 80s or 90s?
Probably late 80s. Yeah. And then after that, I got a 964 RS. So I started my RS GT3 relationship. So probably 94, I got my first RS, first Porsche. First Porsche I bought was a 964 RS. We straight over.
Yep.
And that's been it's been it. So I've had a lot of Porsches. Just broken up with a Ferrari recently. I hit a pothole and it cost me $7 or $8 grand to repair it, and I think my love affair with Ferrari fell out of bed. So back to what I know, the full circle, what we've done now. Coming back to Porsche, and here we are back at Porsche. Yes, there's a lot of analogy going on here.
I mean, this area is fantastic for petrol heads. I always say if anyone wants to come and try Porsche, the Aston, McLaren, Ferrari, place to come. Well, thank you so much, Peter, for showing me your car.
That was fantastic. We had a lot of fun.
And we'll have to do it again.
Yeah, and who knows where it'll end up. It's just been a great ride in dentistry over the years. Yeah, I've got 2 kids. One of them's thinking of dentistry. And I used to always sort of say, oh, the regulations driving me mad, but I've got to look at all the positives, and it's been a great experience, great friends.
And lots of changes to come in the profession.
Yep, great relationships, and it's really modernizing, and you know, there's a lot of new things around, and I think for kids and for younger people it is an exciting time, so that's what we're looking forward to, and hopefully we'll all have a lot more fun in our cars.